From the Mushroom Kingdom mainstays to the most memorable spin-off editions, we're ranking every Super Mario character from worst to best in one super tier list. We'll begin with the characters who might just make you want to turn off the console and contemplate your life decisions. These are the F-tier characters. For our bottom spot, there weren't a ton of contenders, but we've decided to give it to a one-time character, Kirsty from Paper Mario Sticker Star. We aren't here to give a nostalgia critic style rant on Sticker Star because A, stop, he's already dead, and B, we honestly don't hate the game nearly as much as the majority of the fandom does. That said, it's still pretty bland. The only fully new character is Kirsty, whose role is to constantly nag Mario and offer some advice. Granted, the level designs of this game really warranted some free advice, so it's too bad that Kirsty offers minimal help in the actually confusing aspects. Heck, we can't even give her credit for her heroic sacrifice during the final battle since she just comes right back to life in the end. Nathaniel Bandy, this one's for you, pal, because next up is Pink Gold Peach. There are a lot of characters in the Mario Kart roster who have become synonymous with wasted spots. There are a lot of characters who've been absent from the games for years, like Toadsworth, and even some new additions that would have been cool, like both Kamek and Pauline, who just made it into the series as DLC last year. But every other wasted spot can be somewhat justified, or at least explained. Metal Mario, a classic power-up. The babies, they're from the Yoshi games, and the ones that aren't at least cute. Regular enemies? Don't even try to act like Shy Guy driving a motorcycle isn't a straight-up miracle of game design. Pink Gold Peach? Yeah, I got nothing. I'm sorry, how was she in Mario Kart for the better part of a decade before they even considered putting Kamek in? What about the other Nintendo cameos we could have gotten? Samus, Kirby, King Dedede, Pikachu, Hammer Brothers Left Shoe, literally anyone else? Speaking of characters someone else should really have taken the place of, next up is Boom Boom. Boom Boom just showed up in Super Mario Bros. 3 as the go-to mini-boss, and he never freaking left. He's kinda cute and silly, but that only goes so far when you're practically the only mid-boss the series ever throws at its players. Mario bosses being pathetically easy has always been a thing, except for sometimes the final fights, but they could at least add some variety, even if that's just the Koopalings. Fighting the same 7 bosses in multiple games is better than fighting the same boss 7 times in multiple games, but no. Anytime Boom Boom shows up, you just know it's time to beat up Bowser's challenged nephew 8 to 16 times in the same game again. Oh, but it's about to get really wild, because next up is Pom Pom. Get ready for this. What if Boom Boom were a girl? Super Mario 3D Land answered this burning question for the world to see, deciding that the best solution to Boom Boom being the only mini-boss the series could think of was to make Boom Boom a girl and just alternate between the two. She has a ninja star, so that's technically something new, I guess. Alright, even we're bored of those last few, so let's move on to the D-tier characters, for the characters who are at least contributing something. Kicking off this category is the series' less iconic princess nepper, Tatanga from Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land is a decent game, not nearly as good as its sequel, but it's fun enough. Tatanga is the main villain, the kidnapper of Princess Daisy, who existed purely to get beaten up once, then beaten up again in the sequel, where he wasn't even the main villain, mind you, and subsequently forgotten about entirely. On top of that, he's really easy. He'd be a cool secret boss someday, but only time will tell if he ever comes back in any capacity at all. In a similar vein is the main villain of Super Mario Bros. 2, Wart. The guy appears in the dreams of Mario, apparently performing such heinous deeds as... what do you do again? I think he stole vegetables, or did he just like throw them at people? Or most likely, none, if you care about the specifics. All that's important is that, like Tatanga, he faded out of existence soon after he was created, and while it'd be cool to see Wart in a cameo again sometime, we don't have our hopes too high. Considering that other Dream-themed Mario games like Mario and Luigi Dream Team and Super Mario Bros. Wonder completely ignored Wart's existence, it's safe to say that he was a one-time occurrence that resulted from Mario having a weird dream. Sorry man, it's just hard to be an impressive dream-corrupting NES villain when the Nightmare Wizard is right there. This might be a bit of a seniority bias, but we've got to give a shout out to the Goombas real quick. Sure, they go down in one hit, but you have to respect their courage to charge into battle anyway. I mean, yeah, they work for a giant turtle kidnapper / terrorist, but still, these little guys are fully dedicated to their work, and even if that work is never successful, you have to respect that devotion. That one secret level in Wonder where you play as a Goomba really puts into perspective just how hard their job is, so if nothing else, we have to pay them some respect for their work ethic. Still in that category of just doing their job, next up are the Broodals, a group of rabbits who work for a wedding planning company. Wait, my bad, that's an evil wedding planning company. They get points for creativity, since it's always nice to see new bosses in the series who aren't just enemy, but big, and Boom Boom number 467. Even their boss fights are pretty decent. These guys are alright, but they aren't as iconic as many other characters in the series, so we won't place them any higher up. Rounding out this category are two more iconic enemies, the Hammer Brothers. Few characters share the same brotherly bond as Mario and Luigi, but the Hammer Brothers are special in that regard. They're almost always found in pairs, attacking you with such pressure and range that you'll be praying there's a star nearby. They're among the toughest regular enemies in the series and therefore among the most memorable. So why aren't they any higher? Well, you see, the answer to that is simply, how am I supposed to step on this stupid creature when it keeps raising its stupid hammer over its stupid head? It's freaking annoying. Excuse me, how about we move on to the C tier for characters who we can say we actually like? Despite a lack of exposure or a couple flaws, this is where the characters become consistently enjoyable. Hide your valuables because kicking off this category is Nabbit. Nabbit is an absolute mystery. He debuted in New Super Mario Bros. U as this kind of endearing, definitely annoying rabbit dude who steals items from Toad houses periodically. He's little more than a minor inconvenience, but to make things even more confusing, he's not only canonically not connected with Bowser Jr. despite having basically the exact same mask, but in Super Mario Bros. Wonder he straight up joins Mario and friends to save the Flower Kingdom. He's also basically invincible for some reason. The guy's a mystery, but at least he's interesting, sorta, kinda. We want to shout out a brand new enemy real quick, so let's give it up for Wubba from New Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This absolute legend of an enemy is one we hesitate to call an enemy. Just look at him! He's Wubba! On top of being relatively harmless, when you get to play as Wubba yourself, that's when things get really fun. There's nothing like sliding through that beautiful jelly at the speed of Wubba. On the topic of enemies, we can't forget to talk about Lakitu. If we were just talking about Lakitu in the main series, he'd be an F tier for sure. The Hammer Brothers might be irritating, but at least they seem to be doing their job. Lakitu just floats way above you on a cloud like a coward and uses Spinies, living creatures, as projectiles to attack you with. Lakitu is a jerk, but he's not all bad. In Mario Kart, he actually shows himself to be quite helpful by rescuing Mario and friends and frenemies when they fall off the racetrack, saving an admittedly impressive amount of lives in the process. He even acts as Mario's cameraman in Super Mario 64, which would honestly get him way higher if not for, everything else he does. Wait, if he's the cameraman, why doesn't he save me from falling in that game too? Do you have any idea how many times I had to restart TikTok clock, Lakitu? You suck, man. I mean, you're cool at Mario Kart, but you just suck. Next up, let's give it up for Prince Florian, also making his debut in Wonder. As cute as this little dude is, we sadly can't give him a lot of credit for the sole reason that he barely has any actual screen time in the game. The only thing we can really give him any credit for is holding on to badges that help Mario and company. To his credit, that definitely helps. That mid-air spin with the bubble flower is one of the most fun combinations you can find, but sadly it's really the only thing he does. We can say just about the same thing for Stella, Peach's new friend from her newest starring role. Stella helps Peach obtain useful costumes throughout the game, playing a similar role to Elfilin from Kirby and the Forgotten Land. What she lacks in direct combat assistance, she makes up for with consistent support. Now it's time for another Umbrella entry. Here, we have all the baby characters. On one hand, the babies are infamous for their constant crying in the Yoshi's Island series, and for Baby Peach's part, for the fact that she's weirdly consistent on the leaderboards in Mario Kart Wii. I don't trust her. On the other hand, this might be a hot take, but babies cry. And just look at these little guys, they're adorable. Play Mario and Luigi partners in time and just try to say these aren't the most precious little guys in the series, or they're at least up there. For the grand finale of this tier, we have one last recurring enemy slash boss, Wiggler. Wiggler is special among Mario villains for the fact that he isn't really working for Bowser nor anything heinous. Wiggler is just a little worm dude, or sometimes a big worm dude, trying to live his best life. Generally, Wiggler works on a you leave me be, I leave you be basis. Anytime he's a boss fight or an enemy, he won't attack Mario and or Luigi unless provoked. While he's adorable and mostly harmless, we have to leave him this low for the sole fact that we honestly feel bad for having to fight him. That's not his fault, of course, it's just an unfortunate fact. With Wiggler out of the way, let's talk about the B tier characters. We might not quite be in MVP territory yet, but we're getting to some of the series' most lovable characters. It's time to get back to talking about some memorable RPG characters, starting with Prince Dreambert from Mario & Luigi Dream Team. Dreambert is a friendly face who helps a lot throughout the adventure. His help is mostly support, from healing Mario during battle with Phantasma in the Dream World to offering a multitude of tutorials, which, yeah, that's kind of why he isn't higher. It's nothing personal, Dreambert, it's just that even compared to other games in the series, this game has way too many tutorials. Now let's talk about the main tutorial character of the series, Starlo, or Chippy if you're Bowser. Chippy is a friendly star sprite who helps Mario, Luigi, and even Bowser on their adventures. While she's best known for tutorials, which is admittedly a gray area for us Mario and Luigi fans, we still think she deserves some praise for how devoted she is to helping out. And unlike Kirsty, for instance, she actually helps. Plus, she lets you skip plenty of them in Paper Jam, showing that she's learned to be a little more considerate about tutorials. Gotta respect a queen who's willing to work on herself. While the heroes of the Mario and Luigi series are cool, the villains are usually a lot more memorable. So let's give a quick shout out to Dream Team's main villain, Phantasma. While he's not the most memorable Mario villain around, he's definitely one of the cooler ones. He has a cool design that looks like it came out of a Kirby game, and his boss fight is one of the best in the whole series. That's pretty standard for a Mario and Luigi game, but still, credit where it's due. We'd place him higher, but regrettably, he's just not as intimidating as you'd expect a nightmare-themed Bat King to be, especially since he was easily double-crossed by Bowser in the end. Next, we have the subcon seductress herself, Birdo. Birdo is certainly a character. She shows up a lot over the course of the series, usually either to mildly inconvenience Mario and the gang or join them in a game of Mario Kart / party / tennis. We have no clue how to even describe Birdo, except for just look at her, but the sheer energy she brings to the table is something special. Following Birdo is her one-time boss, Popple. The Shadow Thief himself, Popple appears in Superstar Saga and Dream Team as a recurring boss fight. He's one of those characters who's pretty much exclusively a nuisance, but in an almost endearing way, see? Extra points for having one of the catchiest boss themes in the whole series. He's one of those characters who's not exactly hateable, but one you nonetheless enjoy beating up a couple times throughout the game. Now let's move to the Paper Mario series for a minute to talk about Kammy Koopa. For some reason, Kamek wasn't enough of a personality for the first 2 Paper Mario games, so he was effectively replaced with Kammy Koopa, a sort of grouchy grandmotherly figure to Bowser who's often on the wrong end of his temper tantrums. She goes from being a legitimate threat in the first game to one part of a gag character duo in the Thousand Year Door, and plays both roles pretty well. As far as Paper Mario villains go though, we can't ignore King Ollie either. As the main antagonist of the surprisingly great Origami King game, Ollie is one of those villains who doesn't really get a lot of screen time, just a little bit of lore dropped here and there, alongside the looming threat of having to fight him eventually. All around, he's a pretty serviceable villain in a series that was dangerously low on them, and you've gotta love that subtle, passive-aggressive, too many toads motivation he's got there. Everyone say a hearty bah bah to the Koopas. Like most of the enemies we've talked about so far, Koopa Troopas and their variations have been around since the original Super Mario Bros., and have proven to be one of the most satisfying enemies to stomp on, doubling as a one-hit defeat and a useful projectile. But that alone wouldn't be enough to get them up so high. These guys deserve points for just how dang charming they are. No matter how intense things get, you can count on them to stop and dance to the music, and even join you for party games and go-karting sometimes. While he's not nearly as recognizable, we feel the need to shout out Monty Mole real quick. He's actually the simplest character to explain so far, just look at him. I don't care how often he tries to massacre us with various tools and whatnot, he's just too cute not to love. And let us not forget the legendary Big Montgomery, a mini-boss from Yoshi's Woolly World. As if we could ever forget such an absolute icon. There are very few Mario enemies as iconic as the Piranha Plant though. He has a slight annoyance factor of the Hammer Brothers and the charm of the Koopa Troopas without any of the guilt for massacring them that Wiggler gives you. In recent years, Piranha Plant has been reminding us just how much he's capable of, becoming the first regular enemy to get a spot in Smash Brothers for some reason, and getting several levels to show off their musical talents in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But one cannot talk about Piranha Plant without mentioning P.T. Piranha. We're not sure who on the team for Super Mario Sunshine came up with the idea to make a gigantic Piranha Plant with boxer shorts and limbs, but it was definitely a success. There's not even a particular reason P.T. is this popular, he's just a big, goofy guy. Something about seeing him with a baseball bat or behind the wheel of a dangerous vehicle is always going to be funny. Speaking of Mario Kart famous characters, up next we have Toadette, one of the few characters who actually debuted in a Mario Kart game. Impressively, she's remained pretty consistent over the years, appearing in spin-offs like the Paper Mario series, having a pretty major supporting role in Mario & Luigi Paper Jam, and even being a full-on playable character in both 2D Mario games for the Switch so far. And on the topic of major supports, let's give a quick mention to Professor Egad from the Luigi's Mansion games. This eccentric professor is the perfect foil to Luigi's reluctant, often cowardly personality. Really, he gets a lot of points just for being the most memorable newcomer in one of the franchise's most popular spin-offs. He's just a fun character to see pop up no matter what the context. Whether he's prepping Luigi for his next ectoplasmic expedition or showing up to try every new drink you cook up in Superstar Saga. Now for a group that'll pop up whether you like them or not, the Koopalings. They're Bowser's adoptive kids, or biological kids, they're hired manservants. It's really inconsistent. Either way, they're Larry, Morton, Wendy, Iggy, the Goat, Roy, Lemmy, and Ludwig. And these 7 are the go-to bosses in most 2D Mario games. They all have their own unique designs and personalities, so while they might sometimes feel a little repetitive due to the sheer amount of times you'll end up fighting them, they're fun characters who we aren't quite tired of yet. In fact, there's admittedly a part of us that kinda wants to see them as bosses in one of the 3D Mario games, or, again, literally anyone that isn't Boom Boom. At the tail end of B tier is a long-absent character, good old Toadsworth. This friendly old toad was introduced in Sunshine as Peach's main caretaker. He's always worrying about the princess at least twice as much as Mario and Luigi are, seeing the potential danger of any situation and trying his best to keep her out of it. He's an endearing character, but his role as Peach's right-hand toad has sadly been replaced by generic toads over the years. The last time he appeared in a game that wasn't a remake was in Mario and Luigi Dream Team, and since Alpha Dream is sadly no more, it might be time to accept that Toadsworth is done making major appearances in the series. That doesn't mean I'm gonna accept it though. But now we're getting into the really special characters. We're getting close to peak Mario character territory now. This is the A tier. Kicking off this category is Pauline. Before there was Peach and Bowser, there was Pauline and Donkey Kong. While nowadays she's probably best known for her role as Mario's old friend in Super Mario Odyssey, she acted as the original damsel in distress for Mario to save, and as a result, she pretty much kickstarted Mario's journey from a plumber to a full-on intergalactic hero. Even if she did that by getting kidnapped by an ape, we're still gonna give her credit. Next up, we've got a pretty safe choice, Toad. Which Toad, you ask? The answer is yes. Really though, toads are basically the most generic species you'll find in Mario. They're usually friendly, always cute, and sometimes even provide you with some fun minigames and power-ups. The only downside to toads is that sometimes they can rob games of their creativity, specifically in the RPGs. I hate to bring Sticker Star up again, but the sheer whiplash in going from entirely new, well-thought-out, creative cast of characters to Toad, number 6,593, is really something else. But Toad is great regardless, and while there's one in particular we're saving for later, the little guys in general are just a delight. If you're starting to space out, this next entry is for you. Rosalina from Super Mario Galaxy. Rosalina is one of the few mainline Mario characters to have a full-on backstory, which is pretty neat, especially considering that you only see it revealed slowly throughout the game. It's a unique feature for a character in the main series, and coupled with a cool design and a pretty fun Smash moveset, it earns Rosalina a lot of points, even if we are still confused as to why a literal goddess couldn't have just fought Bowser herself. And you can't talk about Rosalina without bringing up Lumas. This is a bit of an umbrella entry, but there's just no denying that the Lumas are some of the most adorable side characters the Mario series has ever seen. Whether you're talking about the regular little guys or those hungry Lumalis who are desperate to be force-fed to the point of exploding into a power-up or a whole galaxy, Lumas are as charming as can be. Just don't think too hard about them or anything Lumali said in the Mario movie.
The only hope is the sweet relief from death.
Also, can we give a shout out to Lubba real quick? I'm just so happy that Patrick finally got his wish to be purple fulfilled. There are still plenty of RPG characters to talk about at this point, starting with the Shroobs. The Shroobs are the main antagonists of Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, a race of aliens who know nothing about destruction and carnage. This makes them surprisingly intimidating foes for a Mario game, and it's established from near the beginning of the game that they're a legitimate threat. Being an actually somewhat scary foe in a Mario game, of all things, is a seriously impressive feat. Next we have the three Shadow Sirens, or since we aren't talking about their youngest member yet, just the three. Except Marilyn, she seems lovely. While Grotus is technically the main villain, if we tackled every memorable character in the Thousand Year Door, we'd be here all day just talking about them. Instead, let's just focus on the Sirens. There's Beldam, Vivian's bigoted eldest sister, Marilyn, the lovable middle sister who seems to have no clue what's going on at any given moment, and Duplis, who just joined them at one point. These three are some of the most memorable characters in the whole game, which is saying a lot. Speaking of saying a lot, let's take a moment to reflect on Marilyn's words of wisdom. And who could forget? The three? But we can't possibly talk about the Shadow Sirens without the best character of the bunch, Vivian. Oppressed younger siblings everywhere sympathize with Vivian's plight, constantly being bullied by her older sisters for either being transgender or just not being as evil, depending on whether you're playing the remake or the original. Recruiting her to your party is one of the most satisfying moments in the series, so we can only hope Beldam stayed true to her word of being nicer to her after the game's events. Speaking of lovable Paper Mario helpers, next we have to mention Olivia. Olivia doesn't get as much credit as a lot of other Paper Mario characters, and that's a real shame, because this girl's a treasure who needs to be protected. Not only does she consistently help Mario in both words and deeds, she provides constant comic relief to the adventure. She's one of the most genuinely funny and kind-hearted characters in the Paper Mario series, which is pretty impressive given how late into the series she came in. Another helper follows her, it's Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey. In addition to fulfilling the role of good advice, he's also able to make Mario's hat become sentient, and therefore an expansion of his regular moveset. Think the Luma who hung around in Mario's hat in the Galaxy games, but on steroids. That's Cappy. And if that isn't enough to convince you he deserves a generous placement, the guy is a ghostly top hat. It rarely gets cuter than that, especially in regards to the undead. But when it comes to ghosts in the Mario series, boos simply can't be beat. They may want to spook Mario and Luigi by any means necessary, but the second you so much as look at them, they show their true scaredy cat colors. We aren't saying that to be mean though, because, I mean, come on, just look at them. They're the only Mario villains charming enough to have whole levels based around them in almost every game of the series. And if we're gonna talk about them, we've gotta mention King Boo. Often touted as the most truly evil villain of the Mario franchise, King Boo is the tormentor of the Luigi's Mansion series. In comparison to King Boo's hatred for Luigi, Mario and Bowser seem like best friends, and while that's kind of hilarious in a vacuum, pun intended, it's nonetheless pretty rough on poor Luigi. Our silver medal of regular Mario enemies goes to Dry Bones. When you see Dry Bones, you know things are about to get serious. You can't kill these guys unless you've got an ice flower or some conveniently placed pits of lava. The best you can hope for is to stomp in them and get the heck out of their way before they pop themselves back together. Those rattling sounds of theirs will never get old, and neither will their iconic design. But the best regular enemy in the Mario series has to be the legendary Shy Guy. We won't spend too much time on him since, you know, he's shy, but just that mask, he's an absolute icon, one that's as adorable as it is unsettling. It's time to get some more RPG characters on this list, starting with Cackletta. Honestly, there's no deep reason as to why we place Cackletta so high up on our list. The fact is, she just really embodies the energy of Superstar Saga as a whole. That goofy, cartoonish vibe is the very essence of her character. Cackletta doesn't have any deep motivations or grudges or anything, she's just an evil witch who loves being one. That iconic laugh and expressive design only elevate her further as one of the most memorable villains in the whole franchise. Not to mention, one of the greatest final bosses, too. Also, we all know about Bowsette by now, but real ones remember Bowletta. Sorry, should have tagged that one NSFW, huh? From an RPG villain to an RPG hero, next we have Geno from the original Super Mario RPG. He's a warrior from Star Road, sent to help Mario and company on their journey. His iconic design, coupled with the fact that he's never made another proper appearance save for the remake, and few enough cameos to count on one hand, makes him a cult classic character and one who fans are desperate to see return. Perhaps the most intimidating of Paper Mario's antagonists, Dementio, is up next. Working under Count Bleck, Dementio tries his hardest to retain his loyalty to his so-called master while simultaneously plotting to betray him at the last possible moment. By taking the Chaos Heart, Dementio plans not to merely destroy the world, but to reshape it in his own twisted image. Even if we ignore his awesome character design, Dementio is one tough customer, and he literally managed to kill 3 out of 4 of the game's heroes on screen and turn the 4th into a puppet off screen. But while Dementio is far more evil, Count Bleck still deserves a slightly higher spot on the list. A threat who lurks over the entire game, quite menacingly, Count Bleck plans to destroy the universe and everything in it, desperately hoping to leave behind the grief of his lost love. In the end, he and Tippy atone for his misdeeds by sacrificing themselves to save the universe. If that weren't enough to give him a high spot, he brought O-Chunks into our lives, and that in and of itself is worth the world. And for the grand finale of A tier, we have our second to last RPG exclusive character, Prince Peasley from Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. Like Cackletta, there's not much of a deep reason for us to put him this high up on our list. Peasley's just a genuinely nice dude. He shows up right when Mario and Luigi need him most, from catching a free-falling Luigi to showing up the last second to knock Fawful out of the castle. On top of that, the dude has legendary hair. It shines so brightly that it blinds the entire screen momentarily. Hopefully he'll decide to visit the Mushroom Kingdom someday, because, let's be real, his bromance with Luigi was the most charming thing in existence. He's probably the one character who's treated Luigi with as much care and respect as he did Mario, and that's worth its weight in coins. But now, without further ado, we've reached the category with the most iconic characters in Mario history. This, finally, is the long-awaited S tier. Kicking the top category off is Princess Toadstool, or should I say Princess Peach. First off, can we just applaud how far Peach has come in the series? She started as a basic damsel in distress, thereby annoying everyone when she was added to Smash Bros. With a resounding, "What do you mean she can fight?" from the audience. But as time went on, she slowly emerged from her shell and became a consistent hero. In Super Paper Mario, for instance, she helps Mario save the universe, and that heroism extends to the main series in Super Mario World 3D, where she joins the original Super Mario Bros. 2 gang again to help rescue the Sprixies from Bowser. All of this came to a head in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, where she was finally a player in 2D Mario again, showing that she's come a long way from a damsel in distress. She's still sometimes in distress, sure, but more often than not, she's the one causing distress to the bad guys. Quite the character arc there. Has anyone played Super Princess Peach? Pretty good game. But while Peach is great, we're giving Daisy a slight upper hand. For the longest time, her only mainline appearance was in Super Mario Land, and while she appeared in just about every spin-off game that didn't require storytelling, she seemed like a character who'd just be relegated to Peach's tennis partner. That said, Daisy's still become a fan favorite. She's a more tomboyish counterpart to Peach, with an ego and energy that complements Luigi's lack thereof. When she made it not only to Smash as an Echo Fighter, but into Wonder as a full-on playable character, fans were ecstatic that she was finally a canon character again. Now, if they could just put Waluigi in one. Until that fateful day, the series will have to settle for another flamboyant secondary antagonist, Kamek. He's Bowser's right-hand Magic Koopa, and has been since his early years. As we see in everything from the Yoshi series to Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, Kamek has raised Bowser from his childhood and acts as his babysitter, advisor, and punching bag. If you thought he'd get a break after Bowser grew up, think again. Now he's just got 2 angry tantrum-throwing tortoises to take care of. But that doesn't stop him from having sick boss fights and a personality that makes you equal parts annoyed and sympathetic with him. Landing just outside of our top 10 is Captain Toad. When you hear that adorable little train whistle theme, you know you're in for a fun time. Ever since Super Mario Galaxy, he's been around to help Mario hunt down stars, moons, or insert another MacGuffin here. There's something particularly endearing about a character who can't fight alongside Mario in the same capacity most of his friends can, yet still helps him out in supporting roles regardless. On top of that, Captain Toad has a pretty fun spin-off puzzle game. All of this coming from a Mario character who can't jump. Captain Toad is an inspiration to all of us, and he's the perfect character to lead the charge into our top 10. At number 10, we have the most iconic Mario RPG character, Fawful. The secondary antagonist of Superstar Saga and the main antagonist of Bowser's Inside Story, Fawful debuted as Cackletta's English-speaking minion. His goofy design only makes his absolute butchering of the English language funnier, and by the end of the game, he realizes just how much of an icon he is, deciding to go off on his own after being defeated by the good guys. In Bowser's Inside Story, he manages to overthrow Bowser's castle and Peach's, taking over the whole of the Mushroom Kingdom and nearly the world. He's both the funniest villain in the series and one of the most dangerously effective. Get you a minion who can do both. It's time at last to talk about the legendary man in purple himself, Waluigi. Waluigi is interesting in that he's literally only appeared in spin-off games. The closest he's come to a prominent role was being one of the villains in everyone's favorite Mario game, Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, and even then he was shoved to the sideline pretty quickly. That hasn't stopped the fans from loving this gem of a man, though. Part of the fun of Waluigi's character is the fact that nobody seems to know who he is, why he's here, nor what his goal is. Waluigi is simply Waluigi, and that's just wonderful. if you ask us. He steals the show whenever he's on screen, which might just be why he isn't in Smash Bros. You've got to give the other characters some chance at the spotlight after all. Wah! But while Waluigi is fantastic, we've got to give a slight upper hand to his pal, Wario. Wario is the antithesis of Mario in basically every sense of the word. He's not exactly evil, per se, but he's selfish to the core, always looking out for himself above all else, and he'll push people around, steal, insult his friends, insult his foes even harsher, and most importantly, do anything for some sweet, sweet coin. Given that he has 2 spin-off series, a pretty great moveset in Smash, and confidence that would even make Prince Peasley shudder, it's not hard to see why Wario is so loved despite his, well, everything. Wario is the very essence of a lovable jerk. There's not a single thing about the guy that's genuinely likable nor redemptive. He's just fun. Whether you're messing with your friends in the spin-offs or watching him get absolutely maimed in Wario Land, the guy is a blast to play with all around, which earns him a pretty respectable spot on our list. This might be controversial, but we feel that Donkey Kong definitely warrants a spot on this list. He did share his own debut appearance with Mario and Pauline, after all, meaning he's a villain who technically predates Bowser. While DK certainly has an infamous rivalry with Mario, he's more or less mellowed out in recent years, in that regard, at least. Now he's mainly seen in the Donkey Kong Country series, giving some passive-aggressive advice to his bumbling, banana-loving grandson, or son? I don't know. Honestly, the guy's old. That's the point. We had to give him a spot here out of sheer respect, but whether you're talking about Cranky Kong or his more iconic tie-adorned descendant, Donkey Kong is a fun character with a happy-go-bananas energy that can't be beat. On the topic of characters who branched off into their own series, next up is Yoshi. It feels criminal to be putting this adorable dino outside of the top 5, but trust us, all of these characters are icons at this point. Yoshi is always there to help Mario, whether it's carrying him around on his back or inexplicably converting fruits into power-ups. Baby Yoshis deserve some credit too. They can make little bubble platforms or hot air balloons to help the gang move. But what really elevates Yoshi to such a high spot is his role in his own spin-off series. In the original Yoshi's Island, we find out that Yoshis have been carrying Mario around since the beginning of time, even when Mario was just a baby. Yoshi was more than happy to take him on an adventure to rescue his brother. In doing so, he defeated Baby Bowser and Kamek many times, meaning Yoshi might have honestly saved the Mushroom Kingdom before Peach even knew she was sentient yet. Yoshi is more than a pet. He's a true blue friend, or a true green friend, or a true black friend. You know, you get it by now. How do you win against an adorable pet/friend? We couldn't forget about Poochie. How could we? He's an absolute icon. Just look at him. Is he a dog, a platypus, a duck? Who knows? He's Poochie. And when he comes to play, he carries Yoshi and uses his own explicable invincibility to plow through enemies and obstacles. He'll even help Yoshi find secret items, which is a big help for us completionists. I personally think it's high time Poochie gets a game of his own, but for now, I guess having some adorable hide-and-seek minigames with his pups is just fine. Landing just outside of the top 3 is Bowser Jr. Say what you will about Super Mario Sunshine, I know I will, but like it or not, it introduced some great stuff to the series. Most notably, it gave us Bowser Jr. We're not sure exactly how or when Bowser got a biological son, but good old Bowsy's existence gives his old man even more character than he already had. Bowser Jr. is an adorable little scamp who's given way too many gadgets with which to beat up Mario and his friends. And given just how proud of his attempts his old man is, it's safe to say that nothing will stop him, unless it's his papa. Then one thing will stop him. And now Bowser Jr. may be second in command, but he's a significant threat on his own too. From using gigantic robots in Galaxy to pretty much taking charge of Bowser's newly dominated kingdom in Wonder, Bowser Jr. is as diabolical as he is charming. Seriously, I know Wonder could have gotten more creative with the bosses, but for being just one guy, Bowser Jr.'s fights there were really good. Nice job, kiddo. Now at last we enter the top 3. It's no secret who these final 3 are, and believe me, they were tough to rank. Our choice for the Bronze Medal of Greatness is none other than Mario. Mad Pat's sociopathy accusations aside, what's not to love about Mario? Okay, there was that one time he kidnapped Donkey Kong and tried to kill his son, but other than that, what's not to love about Mario? He is confident, but not cocky. He's strong, but not overbearing. He's just a nice, helpful guy all around. He'll travel across the world to save Peach time and time again, and even if she rejects him in the end, you can bet that won't stop Mario from doing the right thing. In fact, helping people is just second nature to Mario. He'll help whomever needs it, basically, whether it's cleaning up Delfino Plaza despite their false accusations of him being a criminal, or even helping Bowser Jr. rescue his papa from the black goo he's been corrupted by. There are few characters as genuinely, unapologetically wholesome, nice, and inclusive as Mario. There's really no reason we don't put him higher, save for the fact that our top 2 are just that good. The Silver Medal of Greatness might be second place, but he's not second place in our hearts. Of course, it's good old Luigi taking the runner-up position. Mario is awesome, we won't take that away from him, but Luigi is he's just so lovable, man. He's such a cowardly dork, always worried about ghosts or other challenges and terrified of being in his big brother's shadow forever. While this has been played for laughs, like in his hilariously dark final Smash and Brawl, it's also led to Luigi being an underdog to such a degree that he's arguably become more popular than Mario. Ask people who their favorite of the 2 is, and 90% of the time they'll probably say Luigi. I agree. And it's easy enough to see why. He's expressive, goofy, and constantly terrified of confrontation, which is not only super relatable, but makes it all the more impressive that he's proven himself to be every bit as heroic as Mario over the course of the series. Oh, and of course there's the whole higher jump thing. We can't forget that. Really though, Mario and Luigi are basically interchangeable on a list like this. They're essentially equal in their iconic status and general love from fans. The gold medalist of greatness has to go to the one character whose conflict always teams these two up. That's why our pick for Mario's greatest character is none other than the Koopa King himself, Bowser. Really, was it ever a question? Not just because it was obvious by this point due to process of elimination, but Bowser is simply a character who can fulfill whatever role you put him in. Obviously, if you want a good villain, he's got you covered. Whether he's just kidnapping Peach for the 20th time this month, or trying to literally create his own galaxy using godlike powers beyond his comprehension, Bowser is always a force to be reckoned with, and as a result, his feud with Mario is one of the most iconic in video game history. But Bowser isn't just a one-note villain. He's a truly charismatic bad guy with a thwomp-sized ego, genuinely caring about his minions, or at least what they can do for him. And more importantly, loving Bowser Jr. and being a pretty okay dad to him, all things considered. With Jr. in tow, he can be anything from a minor inconvenience in Mario Party to a worthy competitor in Mario Kart, and occasionally even a self-centered hero in the RPGs, even if he's just saving the world so he can take it over himself, Invader Zim style. Without Bowser, the Mario franchise would lose one of its greatest hooks. Despite being the villain, you could argue that Bowser is ironically the heart of the franchise. From making us laugh in the RPGs to providing a satisfying defeat in the platformers, Bowser is a villain who can be equal parts fun and intimidating, so we have to crown this king as the greatest character in the Mario franchise.